Why don't we start with you introducing yourself?
I'm Russel Pifster from the North American Star League.
What do you do in the North American Star League?
Everything, I guess. It's it's your normal startup, so is they even take the trash out sometimes.
Well, why don't we start then from the beginning? How did you come to be involved in a venture like this?
I don't know if everyone sees some growth like this, and in your wildest dreams you think, hey, it would be really cool if someone did something like this. And it wasn't, there's lots of things for esports out there, but nothing quite like what we had planned on doing for this sort of thing. And it was slowly over time where I had some opportunities to get involved and finally had a jumping off point of actually going for it. But I came from go-to coaching, so I was able to see the unbelievable demand over the time for people wanting to pay a pro to teach them how to play a video game. Things that would, for most people, be unbelievable that people would pay money to have someone teach them how to play a video game. But there's, obviously huge interest in this game, and I think a lot of gamers, especially StarCraft gamers, are getting older, and you have a lot of them that are looking to, other ways to spend their time, playing the games, so they can buy gear or, watch streams or follow these people and their heroes.
How did you first gain notice of the esports industry?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Probably through go-to coaching. That the fall of last year, I was able to pick up go-to coaching, which in Coach Coaching is a site where about 25 of the top pros in StarCraft have their services available to the public to teach them StarCraft. And through that, we did promotional events and tournaments and show matches to promote the site, and we were able to see the growth of A, how great the viewership was for StarCraft, but B, the coaching site, and that's probably where I first came onto the scene.
What did you do previously?
Previously, I've done a bunch, but I was a contractor, so I actually built city halls and big things like that.
Cool. Can you sort of describe your experience through the first NASL season? Like, what were your expectations going into it versus the reality that you've run into?
There's definitely some workflow. We got into it. It was an ambitious project, and luckily I was a guy stupid enough to go ahead and jump off and go for it. But we took on some big challenges in the fact that even doing this in 1080p, I don't think, we actually deal with a half a terabyte of data a day, and the workflow cycles for things for people to do, be able to cut this stuff up out of all our RAWs, it's really a 24-hour cycle. And until we got battle hardened at that process, it was some pretty ugly weeks, just time-wise. Sleeping on the floor in there and just having huge work cycles. But we've figured all that stuff out now to keep going. So, and obviously it's our first time through this stuff. So like even with our finals and that sort of stuff, there's definitely things that I think we did right. But there's plenty of things too that I think we can do better.
That brings me pretty nicely to my next question. What do you think you guys did do right?
I think the formula, the fact that people are watching, people want to see these pros. They want to see this group of people, and I think we put a big focus on the player, and we give an opportunity and a platform to not just show that, hey, I like Zerg, I like StarCraft, I want to follow Zerg. You want to follow Sheth, you want to follow TLO. These are the people that you identify with, and say, hey, he grew up like I did. He goes and likes to, go to the gym. I like, it's that sort of what makes us grow is that we're following our stars, and we try to treat them that way. That there's a platform for players to, have interviews after a game, and you can have a character like a Mo-Man who could just, really, based on their personality alone, captivate the audience, and that's what makes esports good. It's not that it's great video game play; it's the people involved, and I think that's a big part of why we were successful, is that we were able to shine a brighter light on those people.
Okay, and what do you guys think you did wrong?
I think execution on a few things would be where, obviously we had probably, over 500 hours of broadcast. So there's definitely, if anything could go wrong in that sort of time, you'd have it. There was, we had power outage once. You had like a internet node go down in the whole, Southern California for one day that we had issues. But it's, we get the workflow down. There's obviously other things too. We needed to prove to sponsors with people that we're here to stay, and proof of concept where we'll have more of that going on. Just having more cycles to do more things where people want.
Okay. NASL is part of a larger trend recently of large prize pool, high production events that have been going on. Do you see that trend continuing along the path it's on now, or do you see some sort of consolidation in the future?
Everything's going to have to. I don't think you can keep adding more leagues at a certain point, but I think some of the ones out there are different. They're different enough to where they're fulfilling a different segment for these things, to where in a lot of ways, MLG is a big LAN, and they do show StarCraft and that sort of stuff too, but, ours is more of a show with a focus on these sort of players that's kind of singular focus on these sort of things. And I think there's a differentiation to the viewer of what is, and they're both great. So, esports in general, will it catch fire to the point like it did in Korea? It's definitely burning hot with the release of this game, but can it burn hot enough to actually, catch the green wood to where once, the sizzle goes off here, that we actually have a thriving esports? And that's really with, the viewership numbers, everything else. If those continue to grow, you might have some room for some more. If not, it's going to be back to where it was before.
Okay. You guys recently finished up Season 1. What goals do you have for Season 2, specific goals that you're looking to meet?
I think with our workflow, we shouldn't have any issues. We are battle tested now. So, the main thing is how do we keep growing and grow in such a way that we don't run into the same sort of situations where we're, having cycles, where there's other titles that we're working with to put in there. So season 1, we're ahead of, or season 2, we're ahead of the game as far as assets we want to put in. We're able to do things in a 48-hour cycle that other people put a couple months into post-production. We have a great team to do that. So it's a matter of growing that product and putting a better show on for season 2.
Okay. What do you think will be different in season 2?
There's a lot of things, and I think I don't want to pull a Jeff, and announce an announcement, but in the next few weeks we will be letting the world know on some different changes for format. One of the ones we know is we decided to instead of having 50 players, there's 45, and the reason we did that was just simply, we can make changes to our format that would be better, but there's not a good reason for a wholesale change where people get used to the format, they have to understand how it works and what the important parts are. If you shuffle the deck and change it again, people are confused for another season of exactly how the brackets and the leagues work. But the reason we dropped to 45 is that gives 5 divisions of 9 players, and it gives 4 match nights and a player a bye during the season, and actually hits that sweet spot for sitting down and watching 4 matches a night. Hits about the sweet spot opposed to 5 is the main reason. Okay.
So over the course of NASL history, from the hype to now, everyone has seen the prize pool, seen the high production value, seen the LAN events, and everyone has wondered about the money, where it comes from. And can you talk at all about funding and sponsorship?
Well, sponsorship, we're getting more sponsorship for season 2, obviously, but the point is we knew going into this that we had to put this together, to put a product to show we're in front of all this sort of stuff, knowing that we put this whole thing on, and to show people that, hey, it's here to stay. Here's a good product that you can get behind. As far as the funding goes, it's a crazy person like me, that decided to take the risk on this thing.
Okay. The NASL website has been criticized over the course of the season for a lot of reasons. I think for sort of being underutilized. Do you have any goals in fixing that up or changing it in any way?
Sure. There'll be we've got a spoiler-free that will probably for season 2 be ready to where just a toggle switch on the page that these areas will all be covered up, and if you want to see the results, you can click on the field and it'll show it to you. To where, with the video stuff, I think it's better than like Justin TVs because you can tag everything and see it. So yeah, there is more that we're going to do, and probably some more community engagement to where you can be choosing who you think is going to win, and they'll show the poll for the reaction of the community of 60% think this guy's player A is winning over player B. So there is more, but it's piece by piece and what we can take on as we grow.
Okay. As far as being sort of a startup organization, how much manpower does it take to run an operation like NASL?
We've got about 10 full-time people in the building. There's 4 editors. There's a Photoshop artist. There's an After Effects specialist in the building. That's just on the editor side. For the amount of content that we go through and have to cut and put together, it is quite the workflow. Besides your casters and the obvious stuff, you've got our equipment. We're set up to go live, and that's how we do most of our stuff. So we have people there, and then we've got the great internet people that whether it's people just from simply mods or community relations to different organizations like Team Liquid and that Well Played and the other websites that people do. So there is quite a bit involved.
Okay, as far as 10 people, do you think that that's adequate, or would you like to expand in the future?
It needs to be more. It needs to be more people, especially with more titles and anything else too. But we're growing. I think that's part of the story, is that the hours it takes. I think on the internet sometimes it's like, oh, they can just do this, and it's actually doing it in real 1080 and all this sort of stuff isn't something that is that easy. We're talking with the video and everything else that we're doing. So yes, I would like more and to be able to do more things. I mean, a lot of things that we didn't do was a matter of manpower. That we didn't do this for a reason, because we figured A, it was much more important to make sure that goes off, and B, we can get there. Next season or the one after, we'll add these pieces.
Okay. What led you guys to include Heroes of New Earth in the next season?
Well, I mean, our goal is just to foster the growth of esports in North America or even the Western world, and to have an esports title, it's not just having a game that has multiplayer. You need a game that has developer support, that balances the game and actually wants to foster that growth. And S2, with Heroes of New Earth, talking to them, if I were to make a checklist of things that I need to do to make esports grow for a company, they've checked all those boxes, and they're working towards those things. So a developer that wants to work that way, we want to help support that and foster esports.
Have you and S2 been working closely together?
Yes, yeah.
So what are your expectations for Heroes of New Earth for this season?
I think with the things that they have as a developer that they're working on, that they'll be announcing, I believe they just yesterday went to a free-to-play type model. And as things that they do and what we're going to do, I think properly supported by a developer, you could have StarCraft type results for if the game has to be good enough, but I think everything else you could have these sort of, once you get pro players out there supported and an audience can see it, you'll see good growth.
You think within the first season you could see StarCraft type numbers at Heroes of New Earth, or this is a longer term thing?
Well, it'd be longer term, yeah. I mean, you look at StarCraft. I mean, the growth that StarCraft has had, it's not what it is today. I mean, it's not even what it was 2 months ago. There's big numbers in growth, but you need to help facilitate that and let someone know if you want to be a pro gamer that it'll be there for you, and there's that support. And that's really what happens, that you need to set the environment up to where you can have these pro players trying to achieve this dream and work on it. If you don't think that, hey, this developer isn't going to support it and it's going to be broken next month, you're going to put your time on a different title. And I think that's important and not obvious to like normal games. An esports game is different that way.
Can you talk about what the format will be for Han?
That's part of what we're doing in Season 2. It's a promotional title. So we'll have some show matches and maybe some qualifiers to set the stage for Season 3 to have what we have for StarCraft right now. So it's just a introduction, see how it goes, what the fit is, and what the work schedule will look like.
Okay. Last thing is, I think that the Han community is pretty appreciative of the fact that you guys are picking them up. Do you have anything to say to that community?
We're happy to grow esports. All this stuff as far as more content to show and all this sort of stuff. And I think there's also a good synergy. Now you might have the two hardcores of each community, which will not be happy having the synergy there. But I think those are two games in real-time strategy that have a synergy, that work together. That there's a lot of crossover between the two players.
Okay, great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.